Hello everyone, this is Astocky here. Welcome to another, I guess you'd call this a mod spotlight. You'll see down the bottom left hand corner I'm in Minecraft 1.2.3, and the reason I'm doing that is because Thaumcraft 2 was released today, so I thought I would just get in and show you a little bit what it's about. The first thing is you now have these wisps that are much the same but look quite substantially different than they used to. And they have those super cool particle effects. You can see that there's a bunch of other things going on around here because I am playing with the development build of the Technic pack, which has all the rest of the mods installed together. What I was really hoping to do though is I was hoping to give you a bit of an insight into the new Thaumcraft 2 and how it's going to change things. And I'm zipping around here. You'll notice there's currently not a lot of audio from the different mods because there's a number of problems with the current dev build of Technic pack, and I'm not looking to go into those. All I wanted was a 1.2 test world that I could show you some things in. So looking around, have not been able to find an obelisk, but I think even if I did find one I would not know what to do with it. But what you can see is just here there is a tree that does not look like the rest of the trees you're used to. So I'll get myself an axe. You'll notice there are some really super cool looking axes now that you can get. There are lots of different ones, but all I need for this demonstration is an iron axe. And look at that, you can see I've cut some tree away. Other than it kind of looking cool when it joins together and it looking like it's got bark on the outside. I don't know if that's a 1.2 thing or if that's a Thaumcraft thing, but what we have there is great wood. So obviously tree chop mod works with that. Does not work with the new Thaumcraft trees, so you can have funky floating sort of tree things going on. That is the first of, there are two new kinds of trees. There is another one that spawns very rarely called a silverwood tree. That tree seems to be much more common, and I will get to a moment what those different kinds of trees are used for. What I'm trying to find though is some caves, because I believe in caves is where good things happen. And in terms of good thing I'm talking about Viz crystals. This isn't quite going how I was hoping this demonstration would go. That's fine. What I might do is I might just start off showing you some of the items and then we'll deal with how you get the bits for them later. So as with everything, the basic way you start is with the Crucible. There are still a number of different kinds of crucibles, although they've added a new one now. We'll start with the first Crucible, and the recipe for that is any form of Viz crystal. You'll notice there's quite a few different kinds. A cauldron, and a cauldron is the basic vanilla item, which is iron ingots like that, that's not actually used for anything else, and a furnace. So I'm not going to create one of those, I'm going to spawn one in, and you throw it down, and basically it works just like it did in the previous version. You throw things in and it smelts them into Viz. What is quite different this time is the way conduits are made. You still need conduits to be able to create anything, and this time you actually need wooden planks around the edges. So let's spawn a stack of these in, and we'll throw some conduits down, and you can see just like Buildcraft liquid pipes, straight away now the Viz flows into the pipes and flows along. And I've used it all. So you can see you still can no longer smelt those things, but what I will do is I'll grab some diamonds, because diamonds are cool. Diamonds are pretty much used because in all these tutorials made by me, because they're the highest creating item. So you'll see they'll smelt down, they'll fill that thing right up. Now the next thing that you can make, well, the next thing you would normally make is a node, but you'll see there is no longer a thing called a node in this. Now what you have are tanks, Viz storage tanks. The problem with Viz storage tanks is you need enchanted wood to make them. and you need an infuser to make Enchanted Wood. So it's changed the way the basic play of the game works. So we'll come up here and we'll go, we need an infuser. What do we need to make an infuser? We need another crystal. Any kind of crystal will work. A stone slab, some iron, and some smooth stone. So let's spawn one of those in, and you'll see right from the start that it has a super flashy new texture. Now this is not a high texture pack. This is just the standard Minecraft 32 pack, but that looks awesome for starters. So you will see here that we have this full, and now what we will do is we will come in here and you look and you go, wow, look at that. So I think the next thing that I will demonstrate is the kinds of new crystals there are. So previously there was a Viz crystal, an electrified Viz crystal, and a couple of other different kinds. Now the crystals are elemental. So you have your standard Viz crystal, your vaporous Viz crystal, your aqueous. So vaporous is air, aqueous is water, earthen is obviously earth, fiery, which is fire, tainted crystals, which I'll get to a little bit later, and a depleted crystal. So we'll start with a bog standard Viz crystal, and we will put that in. You can see now there are 7 different slots in this particular device, 8 if you count the one at the bottom, and I don't because you can't put anything in it. Probably only call it 6 really, because you can't put anything in that one either. But if we put our crystal on the edge there, and then we grab a piece of, I have great wood logs, so I'll use that, you can see that a progress bar works its way up the side, and you end up with Enchanted Wood. So you can see that doing that I ended up with 5 Enchanted Wood. If I was to grab a stack of these crystals and just grab some normal wood, in this particular version you don't actually have to have special wood from any kind of eldritch tree. You can just use your stock standard normal wood, and you can see that already my machine has ceased to work. The crystals are there, the wood's there, but if you look here, this is no longer the beautiful color that it was previously. Thankfully though, I was able to get my 5 pieces of Enchanted Wood, which if we go back to the tank, I only needed 4. So I will grab myself one of these tanks now, and I will put the tank just here, and it works the same way a node used to, and you can see now all of a sudden my machine's working again. Now the reason for that is you can see just how much darker that is than that is, and that's because these machines only work on untainted Viz. They don't work on tainted Viz. And what was happening is this particular tube here was full of Viz, and it was all tainted Viz, so this machine can't work off that. So very quickly you need to have one of these, and it acts as like a bit of a buffer and a bit of a filter to allow you to keep basically running your wood through it. So part of the reason why I mentioned, for those of you who just watched my other video about the Thaumcraft duplicator that I use in my Let's Plays, it will not work in this particular version, because as you throw items in, half of the item goes to good Viz and half of them goes to tainted Viz. And tainted Viz will very quickly fill up your system, and your infusers and your duplicators and your other things will stop working. So that is really no longer the way to play. What you need to do is get condensers. So condensers require you to have some conduit, some iron, and once again a Viz crystal. Condensers do not work anything like they did in the previous version though. What I will do is I will throw another tank down and make it daytime. There's my tank. I'll throw a piece of conduit down. I'll throw that is my condenser. You can see that the interface is now totally different. What you do is you take any Viz crystal you have and place it in, and what that crystal will do is it will use that crystal as a catalyst to suck Thaum out of the air, and once it gets itself warmed up, actually before I even get into that, you can see this new symbol at the bottom, which is totally new. That represents the phase of the moon. And something that's always been talked about in Thaumcraft, even Thaumcraft 1, is that different machines work at different rates depending on the phase of the moon. Now you can actually see the phase of the moon. So if I go make it day, make it day, make it day, you can see that the phase of the moon changes. That's full moon, which is the optimum time to produce. So here comes the Thaum really slowly out. What I might do to help speed this up is I might make a few more condensers just to demonstrate to you how this can work and have it kind of happen a little bit quicker. So you can see that we've now got Viz flowing, and then very soon it'll be flowing into the tank. Hopefully it'll be flowing into the tank very soon. So I did something wrong with that tank. Yeah, it should very quickly be flowing into that tank and filling that tank up. Now what's important about these is these produce completely taint-free Viz. There you go, so it's nice and bright pink, and that leads me to some other devices that have now been introduced into the game. In the same way that there used to be Mentum, there used to be lots of different levels of it. Now there is not, but now what you do is you take redstone is now used for lots of things where previously there was nothing that was required. So we'll grab our coal. In the previous version you used to put coal with an infusion mold. Well, infusion mold's a thing of the past, but if you put coal and redstone together, it infuses to give you your alumentum. And I believe if you do the same thing with glowstone, so coal, sorry, it's not coal, it's redstone and glowstone. In this case, redstone has taken the position of the mold. You get nitor, and you can infuse the two of those together, and just like you used to, you can now get a singularity. What you can also do is you can create detectors. So detectors are a vastly different recipe than they used to be. Just give me one moment and I'll tell you how to make a detector. Okay, so to make a detector, the first thing you're going to need is a compass, and I'm actually going to grab 2 of them, and you're going to need some gold. So once again I'm going to grab 2 pieces of gold, and I already have lots of Viz crystals. This time I'm going to grab a tainted Viz crystal. So you can see there are lots of different tainted items that are in the game now, but I'll just start with one tainted crystal. And what you do is you take your piece of gold, you take your compass, and then you take your tainted Viz crystal, and it will slowly infuse together, and it will produce an item in the center. You can see that this is really slowly filling up here, and I think I know why. I'll get to that in a second. And there we have a taint detector. So now by placing that in my inventory, you can see that now on the bar on the bottom right hand corner I have a little meter. Now that doesn't need to be in my hotbar for that to happen, it just needs to be in my inventory. But if I do place it on my hotbar, I can click and it will tell me there is 160 taint in there. You can see that there is no taint in there because this is producing nothing but pure Viz. And I might join them together. So you can see now all of a sudden that pure Viz is mixing, that the taint will come over. Still the same amount of taint there, but you can see all of a sudden this colour here has got much lighter. Which brings me to the next thing that I will make, which is a untainted Viz crystal, a piece of gold, and a compass. And you can see it's working much more quickly now because there's less taint in the system. And we have a Viz detector. This shows me the Viz level. So you can see how the purple symbol, the light purple symbol, looks like it's kind of glowing. What that means is there's more good Viz in this particular area, so it's more positively charged than it is tainted or negatively charged. And again, you can use this to click here and see that there's 75 Viz, 77, 78, and there is 165 taint over here. It's slowly draining down as it's draining into that one. But again, there's still no taint because these crystals, as you can see, are starting to get a little bit darker as well, because as being part of the catalyst process, they're being used up. So that kind of shows you how your different detectors work. And now I believe, give me one moment, now putting the 2 of these together, plus 1 of each of the elemental crystals, so I need to get my inventory and grab those together. So chuck each of those in. Remember I said you can have up to 6 things in there, so the 4 different kinds of crystals plus the 2 detectors creates a new item, which is a thermometer. And basically you can see that the little red arrow is pointing down on the Thaum level, because the Thaum level, the Viz level, the good Viz anyway, is slowly being reduced in this area. I believe these condensers are actually sucking the good energy out of this area, and so you can eventually deplete that. But what you can also do with it is, if I right click, you can see that the object is currently 68% full. 35% of that 68% is good Viz and 33% is taint. And we click over here, you can see that it's 6% full, but all 6% is good Viz. So you can see that it kind of acts like the old Viz detector used to when you right click, but it also acts as the other 2 detectors together. Plus it also acts as a kind of a leveling guide that it will tell you whether it's going up or down or what's going on. So you can see that I've moved to a new chunk and then another chunk, and you can see that the levels are changing with each chunk. And what will eventually happen is, if I totally drain the positive energy out of this level, but there are other levels where there's positive energy that's higher, it will flow from chunk to chunk to try and replenish this area. So it kind of works out well, and it works for itself. Now the next item I'm going to show you is a duplicator. So you can see that a recipe for a duplicator does not come up. That is another part of what makes this much more difficult than the way the standard Thaumcraft 1 worked, because what we have is a thing just here called a quasitum, or a Q block, and basically what it does is you place it down and it is used for research. So the way you make one of these is an ink sac, an empty glass bottle, feathers, gold and stone. This is the next element of Thaumcraft 2 that really makes it good. All these blocks that I've built here are what you would call basic blocks. They're things that you can make basically as soon as you start the game, as long as you have the materials for them. The rest of the things, like the duplicator as an example, you can't actually make it until you do something else, and that something else is you need to come over here and you need to research. To research you need paper, and you put paper up here that it researches onto, and then you put a block in there. So if I place a piece of redstone, you can see that it has a 75% chance of losing the redstone, a 2% chance of succeeding and actually producing something, and the failure chance was 0, because failure isn't applicable in this particular area. So you can see that you get a 2% chance from a piece of redstone, and that's 2 pieces of redstone I've used. Throw a piece of coal in, same 75% chance of success, but a 1% chance of loss. Sorry, 1%, same chance of loss, only a 1% chance of success. So you can see that I'm kind of burning up all these mundane items and not actually achieving anything. Glowstone, this time a 3% chance of success. You can see there's 2 slots below here, and what these are is these are research boosters. So each item that you place below there will increase your chance of success, but by generally a little bit less than what you would achieve by having it in the top slot. So you can see with 3 I have a 9% chance, which is, on average it works out a little bit less than it would normally be, but these have a higher chance of getting burned up in the process. So you can see that by doing that I have achieved a fragment of lost knowledge. Now you can see if I go to fragment on NEI, there are 4 different kinds of fragments you can get: lost knowledge, forbidden knowledge, tainted knowledge and eldritch knowledge. Now you find items, artifacts in dungeons and things like that, and I will see if I can bring that up. So you can see all these different artifacts, ancient different things. So ancient seals, which is a rare artifact, uncommon artifacts, all these different kinds of artifacts and things that you will find. There we go, exceptional forbidden artifact, rare forbidden artifact, tainted artifacts, and they will all give you different kinds of knowledge. So if I throw that in there, it has an 8% chance of success and a 75% chance of loss. Now this is where it becomes really important, because it might be very, very difficult to find that. You need to really boost things up as much as you can. So by throwing 2 diamonds in there, you can see it went from, grab that back out, you can see that the chance of success goes up dramatically. So that was a 8% chance of success. If I throw 2 diamonds in and then put it in, it's up to a 16% chance of success. So 2 diamonds is basically double it. But if I go block and grab a block of diamond, which is worth even more, it boosts the chance of success all the way up to 32%. And that's very important, because you have a really high chance of losing your artifact, and so you want to maximize the chance you have of actually achieving something good. I'm going to throw lots of diamond blocks in there, because it's pretty important to me that I get something out of this one artifact that it might take you, I mean, how frequent are dungeons? And there you go, look, it's been wasted. But let's say I got a fragment of lost knowledge out of it. You place that in, and it again gives you a lost chance of 80, and we'll show you the success chance is 13. Again, you could lose this knowledge very quickly, so what you want to do is you want to diamond block it up to maximize your chance of success. Okay, so I lost it again. That's not very good, and in general, that's a pretty lossy way of doing research. Thankfully, these things are ever so slightly like enchanting tables, which is the vanilla enchanting table, that if you take bookcases and place them in this pattern, the same as you would with an enchanting table, and so place them with a block gap, you can see that they're feeding their book knowledge into it. And what that will allow you to do, I will demonstrate in a moment. Obviously, these artifacts and these things are quite difficult to get a hold of, so it's very important you maximize their efficiency. So let's say I had that artifact again. This time I place it in, and you can see the success was up to 34 by having all those bookcases in. There you go, look at that, a fragment of eldritch knowledge. And I still haven't used the item up, so you can potentially get more than one fragment of knowledge out. Look at that, 2. I'll throw those in here. The chance of success again has gone up very slightly, but it actually seems to be doing much more effectively, because this time I've grabbed a theory. Now what theories are quite different in the way that they work. When you place a theory in, you can see that you have a chance of failure and a chance of success. So now your chance of loss is 100%. That means at the end, because loss isn't exactly applicable in this, all loss means is any item that you use in here to boost it will disappear when you use it, guaranteed. It's about a 50-50 chance at the moment, so equal chance of success or failure, because what it does is it tests for success, and that will add a blue dot if it succeeds. If it fails, it will take away a dot, as you can see just there. And what you want to do is you want to get 5 dots effectively. And this can take a while, this can burn through its thing, particularly in a case like this where your chance of failure is as high as your chance of success. And you can see that there's a new cool symbol there while it's actually doing its thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if adding more bookcases will actually increase the chance of success. I don't actually know if it's different than vanilla, which has a limit of 30. Hopefully that'll make a little bit of difference. No, it hasn't. So you can see I'm still there at 1 dot, and this is doing its thing, so I'm going to just come back in a moment, hopefully once I've achieved something. Back soon. Okay, so I'm back. I don't think that the numbers quite tell the truth of the story, because it's actually got much, much quicker at this number going up here since I've added those extra blocks. So you can see that it's still scribbling away, still working, doing its thing. Still haven't quite got there though, and I've probably gone through, you know, 3/4 of a stack of diamond blocks doing this, so it's obviously not something that's very quick or very efficient. And eventually what you will end up with is the thing called a discovery. Hopefully this will happen and this will get me there and I can actually show it to you. Come on. And it's this research phase that's actually quite good, because what it means is things like the duplicator, you can't actually produce a duplicator until you've researched how to make a duplicator. Okay, so see there how the difficulty is tortuous? That's part of the reason why I'm having so much trouble with this thing. If I could find a theory, there's lots of different theories here. So if I grab this one here, which is the duplicator, and so you can see that it's common by the little green dot that it has, and I throw that in there, you can see that it has a 113% chance of success. So each time it goes through, it's going to go up and then boom, thaumatic duplicator theory. I'll grab both of these and I'll show you what they do. When you now right click with it, you get a message, you can now make darkness. A darkness generator, sorry. This strange device seems to be able to draw energy from a monolith and somehow shape it into liquid darkness. So you make it with some eldritch stones and lots of other items that we don't yet know how to make. So you can tell that to make that, you need to do a lot more research. Whereas this one, which is your Thaumatic duplicator, is much easier to make with gold ingots, enchanted wood, and an animated piston. So you can see that trivial things are very easy to research, and pretty much all of these are trivial. And I'm not sure exactly why it only showed me trivial ones in NEI. 2692. Let's scroll down and let's see what's down around that 2600 number. So, too far. So here you go, you can see that it only seems to have the trivial theories and the most basic theories, and then the most basic discoveries that come out of those in NEI. The rest of them are hidden, and that's probably because the creator wants that to be the case, that you actually have to go out and you have to look for things and you have to find them rather than cheating and spawning them in, and I think that's excellent. You know, the fact that I can now build a duplicator, I can spawn one of those in, throw it down, and now I can demonstrate how it works. And again, it works in much the same way, that you take an item, you place it in, and it duplicates it. Now this has been a really super quick intro. I haven't even started to talk yet about the different kinds of symbols and the different kinds of things you can make. I might just really quickly go into how they've changed. So if I grab a gold block and a gold nugget, and if I place a gold block in with a particular Viz crystal, back in 1 second. Sorry, my mistake. Like I was saying, redstone has replaced a lot of the items in this. So you place the redstone in there and you get a seal. That was an odd noise. I think that means... I didn't mean to put my seal there. There you go. That meant my duplicator has done its thing. So I'm going to take that out now because I don't want that to keep making that noise. That wasn't something I was expecting. And so yeah, so you place a piece of redstone and a gold bar, and that gets you a seal. Just going to do another one because I stuck my other one, I didn't mean to. So that gets you a seal. Now a seal is like the old symbols. You take your seal and you place your seal. That is the basics of anything that you would have put down. Now what you need is essence. So you take your gold nugget and whichever particular crystal that you want, and I'm doing this all wrong. I don't know how I'm doing this wrong though. I'll be back in a moment. Okay, so remember that item that I made before, that night ore that I had no idea what it was about? So that was my Mentum. That's my night ore. Well, this is where your night ore comes in handy. So you take your piece of night ore and your gold nugget, and then let's go for a standard Viz crystal, and that will create you magical essence. So if I had a different kind of crystal, let's say I had a fire crystal, and I was to put the, once again we need the glowstone and the coal. Aha, once again I have run out of good energy, so let's try and get some untainted Viz back in the system here. see these tubes here are all full of taint, and you can see the taint release when I put it back together. Looking like there's still lots of viz there, so I'm not sure exactly why the system isn't working for me. Could have been that all my little conduits that I have were full of taint. Okay, way to make myself look stupid. I totally forgot the recipe. So again, you place the night oil and the fire crystal, and I've forgotten the recipe again. Okay, sorry about that. So you can see that this is a fair bit more complicated than it was previously. It was a gold nugget that I wanted, and that would give me fire essence. So now what you can do is you can come over to your tree, and you grab your essence, and you place the essence on, and what I have now is an active symbol, and I can place some more essence on, and the different combinations of the different essences that you use all give you different effects. So they don't just look cool, they each give you different effects. So let's spawn a mob in. Let's go for, say, let's go for a spider. So you can see that symbol there does not do anything, and that wasn't exactly what I was hoping that symbol would do. And to find all these things out, you have a new item that you can create called a crystal ball, which is made with a bit of every kind of essence and a viz detector. So I take this, click on the tree, and it says this seal has no effect. Basically, that was not a valid combination. Let's make it morning. So you can see that it now becomes very important to make sure you know what you're doing when you place things together. Now let's try a different one. Let's say this time I put the seal, and then this time let's do the fire essence again. But let's put the fire essence without the magic essence this time. Now what happens if I spawn a spider? Is that straight away that symbol detects the spider and sets it on fire. So you can see that you have to be very careful, because once you place them down you can no longer get them back, and if you place them in a combination that doesn't work, you end up with nothing. But if you place them in the correct combination, as you can see here, your crystal ball will tell you exactly what that particular thing will do. So there is just so much to this mod, and I think the way that it's meant to be is so much of it is based on trying things out and testing things out and having just a general play around to see what happens. The very last thing I wanted to try and show you, but I have not been able to, and I have not been able to find them, well, basically the way you find viz crystals in this particular Thaumcraft 2. Previously in Thaumcraft, you had to either find the crystals by killing the wisps, or you had to have a crucible overflow. This time what you will actually find is crystal formations underground. Now I'm not sure if this will work or not. No, I didn't think that it would, but basically what you can find is you can find harvestable crystal growths on the inside of caves, and if you punch them, they will drop whatever particular crystal it is. Could be mining, you could have to mine them, but basically you can get whatever kind of crystal it is to drop off them. Now it's important to not over harvest them, because if you harvest them until they disappear, they won't actually come back. Whereas if you harvest them, I was really hoping I might find some down here. Look, what is that? Let's take my Thaumium pickaxe. What was that? That was cinnabar ore. So that is another new kind of ore that's been added by Thaumcraft. And now I don't know what that does. I didn't even realize that existed. But I was really hoping I would find a crystal growth, and it looks just like a couple of viz crystals jutting out on the side of the wall. and you harvest them, and they drop Viz crystals. Now you'll sometimes get 3 or 4 out of one particular crystal formation, and then the crystal formation disappears. What you want to try and do is not take them all, just take, maybe 1, and then the formation will slowly grow itself back. So they're kind of like a harvestable resource that you can get more and more of as long as you're careful. Wow, this is some really interesting looking terrain here with some big sort of holes. So yeah, I think I've probably covered all I'm going to get to cover in this particular, I guess, short sort of mod spotlight. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you look to try this mod out. This looks to be fantastic. I can't wait until this version of the Technic Pack becomes a lot more stable so that I can actually start playing it. I'm sure once it's a little bit more stable, they are actually going to include this mod, because this mod it adds so much to the game, so many new things that it makes it really worth going out and trying to find those dungeons and trying to find those dungeon chests so that you can start to get different items and then try and research those items and find something good out of them. The last thing that I can think of that might possibly be a way of finding something is if I take this singularity. Everyone knows that when you throw a singularity, singularities go boom, which is exactly the same effect as in previous. Everything all kind of gets sucked together. Just thought maybe if I went a bit crazy that I might open something up and I might get lucky. I might see something I hadn't seen before. But it doesn't look like that's going to be the case, which again is quite unfortunate. I was really hoping I would just, through blind luck, just stumble upon one, but hasn't turned out to be the case. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Again, I really hope you try out this mod. This looks to be absolutely brilliant. It looks to just add that extra level of something that you feel like you're achieving when you play the game. So again, thank you very much for watching. Astocky out.